Okay, I've got about 15 minutes, so it takes me 10 minutes to get home, and I want to get changed, so. But we have the paper here, and I think this is the right one. That has my great-grandfather on it, and then it has, where did I see? There's a David Robinson and then Joe Robinson on here. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Sure.
And now we're getting into our kind of military section. This is Colonel Mcdermott, who lived kind of across the street from Mr. Warner. I mean, after Mr. Warner, but that's where his house was. And he was the highest ranking soldier from Lorain County in World War I. And he was like an aide to Pershing, and Pershing had him when he signed the treaty, when the war was over. Then he was assigned to come back to America with, I forget how many other guys, and they started the American Legion. That was what Pershing wanted them to do, so they were instrumental in starting the American Legion.
I'm sorry, the American...
Legion.
The American Legion. Oh, okay, okay.
Yep.
Wow.
And then his son was also in the service too, and that's his uniform.
Yeah, my great uncle was in the First World War.
Ah, yeah.
He was in France and Belgium in the trenches. And I didn't know him back at that time. I wasn't born yet,
Yes.
but they say that really had a psychological effect on him. They didn't call it PTSD at the time, but it was clearly PTSD.
Right, right.
They saw and endured great hardship.
Yes, yes. I can't imagine. Just really sad. So we have pieces from Civil War. We have a collection of hunting guns, and we have some other weapons here, and we have them all cataloged because I don't know them all. But everything in the museum has been donated to us. We don't go out and buy things. They have meaning to everyone. So we'll have people that'll come in and say, my mother donated thus and so, do you know where it is? And sometimes I do. Believe it or not, sometimes I do, which is way cool. And I was telling you about Chief Furkren, and there he is in his jumpsuit.
A literal jumpsuit.
A literal jumpsuit, exactly, yes.
Kids nowadays hear jumpsuit, they think
I know, yeah.
little kids' clothing.
Yeah, that's right. So we've tried to do this in chronological order. We need more space. We're doing the best that we can. So we're a little bit jumbled up, but can you turn it off for a second, or no?
So.
Come this way.
Okay.
This is the John Price, who was in Oberlin, and his former master sent a slave catcher to come get him. He was duped and captured and brought to Wellington because they were going to catch a train, but the slave catcher wasn't that smart, because I think the train wasn't going to come for something like 4 or 5 hours. When they got to Wellington, everybody was out because there had been a fire, and they figured out what was going on. Plus, all these people were coming from Oberlin because they figured out what was going on. So there was a place called the American House, and they were up here in kind of an attic room up in the American House, and they were trying to figure out a way to get John Price, and the slave catcher had his gun. To make a long story short, John Price was rescued, whisked away, and on his way to Canada. Nobody knows what happened to him afterwards, but this is the building that Herrick came in and said, take this building down and put the library there.
Okay.
So that's why this building doesn't exist anymore. If you remember when I was telling you about the funeral director downstairs, this is Mr. Wadsworth right here. These are men that were thrown into jail because, of course, of the Dred Scott decision. Anybody who helped a fugitive slave was a felon, for lack of a better word. They were taken into Cleveland. They were held. The people in Ohio thought that they were heroes. They sent them cakes. They sent them letters. They sent them money. The judge finally said, if you pay $1 a piece, I will let you out. They wouldn't do it. Finally they were released because it was such a hubbub. Because I don't think the judges in Cleveland thought that it was going to create this much of a stir. But all of Ohio thought these men were heroes. And there's a nice book about the town that started the Civil War. Now, if you live in Wellington, it's the Wellington Oberlin Slave Rescue. If you live in Oberlin, it's the Oberlin Wellington Slave Rescue. So take your pick. Take your pick. But that's our slave rescue story. And if you will come this way. And this is King Solomon's Temple. And
Holy
this
cow,
is
look at that.
the next thing that we want to get stabilized. Isn't it beautiful? This one's my favorite because I love the detail on the temple. Or the palace, I guess. I always call it the temple, but it's the palace.
Now I have a dumb question.
Yeah.
Does any portion of this structure continue to exist? Or is...
I don't think so. I don't know. And then we have, like I said, this is, and here you go. You can take a picture of this if you like, because this shows what the third one is, which is actually the first one. It's, they're cutting the wood. To get ready for the building. But that's the third mural, which is actually the first one in the series.
So they have the beginning, the middle, and
Right.
the final product.
Right, yeah.
Great.
And we have, the railroad was a big deal here in Wellington. The fair is a huge deal. That's the third week in August. We've had it. It was a hot day. It rained, then it got hotter. It's kind of sad because we were really hoping for a big turnout of people. But the people that came were really happy to come and have a good time. And then we have a tribute to our fire department. And police department.
Portrait of Abe Lincoln.
Yep.
And who's that in the middle?
Okay, that's Dr. Johns, and he is the one that got the railroad to come through Wellington.
Okay.
And he did it by saying he would give his land for the right-of-way. It was going to go into another little town nearby us, and he encouraged them to come to Wellington, which is what made Wellington grow. But the thing that he did was, he said, I will give you the land for the right-of-way, but every passenger train has to stop in Wellington, let the passengers off, which means that they would have to go and buy food, buy whatever in the stores, and then he would sit on his porch, and if a train went through, he called up the train, I don't know what it was, wherever they originated from, and they would signal to the train engineer, and they would have to back up and stop and then go on with their trips. It was pretty funny. He was a wise man.
Indeed.
Yes. This is an exhibit from Miss Ruth Hagee, and she was in Africa as a missionary. She wrote this book. She was there in 1963 when the Congolese men rose up against the Belgians, and they were killing any foreigner that they could find. She hid out in the jungle for several days until she was able to be saved.
Wow.
And she wrote the book. And
Didn't they make a movie about that?
Could have been. This is a picture of her. But I remember as a little girl her coming and speaking at one of our banquets. So, and then some of the memorabilia that she gave to the museum that she brought back from the Congo. So we have several things, and quite a brave lady.
Yeah, I would say so.
This is the story of Bonnie Bray Farm, which started off as a horse breeding, and then they got into racing, and it was the Murray family. And when Mr. Murray was a young boy, he was about 16, some Russians came and bought some of their horses, and they wanted a trainer to go back to Russia with them. And so he went back to Russia and worked, and he finally worked his way up to being a driver, which was where you made your money. You didn't make it as a trainer, you made it as a driver. And he wanted to come home because he was going to get married, but a big race was coming up, and the person that was his boss said, you can't possibly go. So his fiance and sister and a chaperone went to Russia, lost their luggage, so they had to have new wedding clothes made, which they did, and here's the picture of them. And then
In their new wedding clothes.
In their new wedding, his was fine because he had them while they were there. But that's Josephine. I thought she was quite lovely. Then their son, William Murray. So I always call this old Mr. Murray, and then the Mr. Murray that I knew. Well, to back up, Josephine and Bill came home to America because it was about the time when the Bolsheviks were taking over, and they could see the writing on the wall. So they got out of Russia in time. They came back to the home farm, and they started raising Percheron horses, which are work horses. And it was also at a time when tractors were starting to become popular. Nobody wanted the Percheron horses anymore. So then they went back into the race horses here in America. And then there's a picture here of Mr. Murray. This is the young Mr. Murray. He's the second generation, and he continued on with the horses. And then he and his sister were each married, and they lived near each other, and they kept the farm going. And in fact, his sister was my husband's kindergarten teacher.
How about
Just
that?
a little fact there. Well, anyway, there are two girls that are descendants of the Murrays, and they still own the farm, but now they raise elk.
Elk.
And they have a big thing about this time of year with the elk bugling and all of that sort of thing. So.
And they're located here in Lorain County?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Not too far from here, actually. So that's pretty cool.
I had no idea there were
Yep.
any elk in the state of
Yep.
Ohio.
Oh, the things you learn at the Spirit of 76 Museum. And we had a theater at one time, and this is theater information. And I'm afraid that we're going to have to run upstairs real fast because I'm going to have to get home and
All
get
right,
my clothes changed.
we can cut this off at any time.
Okay.
There's only one other question I want to
Okay.
ask.
Sure.
You're open Saturday and Sunday.
Through October.
Through October.
Yes, April through October.
Okay.
So this will be the end, although if we are called, the secretary usually will get one of us to come and we can give private tours.
All right, and how do people contact you?
You can get on it. We have a Facebook page,
Okay.
Spirit of 76, or you can just Google Spirit of 76 Museum, Wellington, Ohio, and it has our information.
Okay, great.
Telephone number
Great.
and all that sort of
Now,
thing.
is there a
That's-
fee to come through the museum?
No.
No fees?
You're more than welcome to donate whatever you want to donate, but no,
Okay.
no fee. We do have a small tax levy that the village, the township and village of Wellington pay, because that's how it was set up when the museum was started in 1968.
Okay,
So, yes.
great.
Now, I will take you upstairs real fast because, like I said, I have to get home.
Okay,
Because
let's,
we have a dinner meeting and I don't want to be late.
all right, let's go.
All right.